We're almost always told by traditional financial advice that you need $1 million, or at least some massive six-figure sum to truly feel wealthy. But what if they're completely missing something fundamental? There's actually a much, much smaller milestone that completely transforms your relationship with money. Think about what it's like to push a huge, heavy boulder up a steep hill. Getting it started is agonizing, right? You're straining, sweating, making barely any progress, and probably questioning if it's even possible to reach the top. But eventually, you build momentum.
So, I want you to picture the exact threshold that separates the truly wealthy from people who are spending their entire lives trapped, living paycheck to paycheck. What is the number where that financial boulder finally crests the top of the hill, and instead of pushing against gravity, gravity suddenly starts pulling you forward?
Well, according to the research, that magic number is $20,000. It's this invisible barrier, and the crazy part is that most people have absolutely no idea this threshold even exists. But once you cross it, the rules of the financial game completely change. You stop reacting to your life, and you actually start designing it. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why this happens. We'll look at escaping financial survival mode, the math of momentum, the power of having walking away money, and finally, avoiding the wealth trap so you don't accidentally reset the clock on all your progress. Let's demystify this journey.
Part 1. Escaping financial survival mode.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because the difference between having $0 and having $20,000 isn't just a math equation, it's profoundly psychological. When you don't have money saved, your brain is operating in what psychologists call survival mode. In this state, every single financial decision you make is filtered through fear and scarcity. You might take the very first job offer that comes your way, even if it's terrible, just because you literally can't afford to be picky. You stay in situations you hate because leaving feels way too risky. When your mental bandwidth is completely maxed out by immediate threats, your brain simply cannot think about long-term growth. It's kind of like trying to plan a relaxing vacation while your house is actively on fire.
But the moment you cross that $20,000 threshold, you shift from survival mode to growth mode. Your brain finally gets the space to think differently. In survival mode, a broken laptop or a sudden car repair is a catastrophic financial disaster that derails your whole month. But in growth mode, it's just a minor inconvenience. Because you have that buffer, you suddenly start noticing opportunities that were honestly always there. When a friend mentions they're starting a business, instead of just nodding along, you can actually run the numbers to see if it's worth investing $5,000. You start proactively analyzing rental properties on Zillow instead of just scrolling past them wishing you could afford one.
And this brilliantly illustrates the data behind that massive mindset shift. Research from Vanguard shows that having just $2,000 in emergency savings increases your financial well-being by an incredible 21%. That small buffer alone moves you out of pure panic. But when you push that emergency fund to a solid 3 to 6 month buffer, which for most people lands right around that $20,000 mark, you get another 13% boost in your well-being. You've successfully created the breathing room necessary for your brain to transition from just preserving wealth into actual wealth building.
Part 2. The math of momentum.
Let's look at the mathematical reality of what's happening behind the scenes here. Because building wealth, it's not some secret club exclusive to the ultra-rich. It's literally just basic math working in your favor. Let's break down the timeline. Say you're saving $1,000 every month and earning an 8% return on your investments. Getting to your first $20,000? It's hard. It takes about 19 months of serious discipline, sacrifice, and delayed gratification. But here's where it gets incredible. Your second $20,000 doesn't take another 19 months. It only takes about 17 months. You did the exact same amount of work, but you shaved 2 full months off the timeline because your money is now doing the heavy lifting for you. Fast forward to when your portfolio hits $400,000 and your next 20 grand takes just 5 months. It starts happening automatically.
And the investment strategy itself isn't changing. You can use the exact same index funds and brokerages with $1,000 as you do with $20,000. The only real difference is scale. A 10% return on $2,000 is $200, which is nice, sure, but not life-changing. But apply that same growth to $20,000 and you're making $2,000. At an 8% return, $20,000 generates $1,600 of annual income flowing straight into your account over the year without you having to lift a single finger. That right there is what life-changing momentum looks like.
Because of this scale, your entire focus completely shifts. Think about it. When you're broke, you obsess over micro decisions. You do exhausting mental gymnastics over whether to buy a $3 coffee or if you should get the generic brand cereal. But even if you optimize every little thing, it saves you maybe $1,000 a year.
Once you hit the $20,000 mark, you stop sweating the small stuff and you reallocate all that mental energy toward macro decisions, like your housing costs, maximizing your income, and optimizing your investments. These are the big strategic choices that swing your net worth by tens of thousands of dollars.
Part 3. Having walking away money.
Now, let's explore how this mathematical and psychological shift bleeds into the rest of your life, specifically acting as a total superpower in your career. When you live paycheck to paycheck, you're basically in an incredibly weak negotiating position. You need the job way more than they need you, so you tolerate toxic coworkers or mind-numbing tasks. But $20,000 provides what we call walking away money. You could literally quit tomorrow and survive for months while finding something better. Because you have this safety net, you negotiate from a position of absolute strength. You can ask for the raise you actually deserve, you can confidently push back on unreasonable demands, and you can explore new career opportunities without that paralyzing fear of going broke.
And what's really fascinating is that you usually don't even need to use your walking away money. Just knowing it's sitting there in your account changes your entire demeanor at work. You become more confident, you become more assertive, you're more willing to take on challenging projects. And believe me, people notice the shift. Suddenly, because of this confidence, you start getting better assignments, more recognition, and ultimately, more money. It creates this beautiful positive feedback loop that accelerates your wealth even faster.
Part 4. Avoiding the wealth trap.
But we do need to talk about a stark warning from the research. Right when people crest the hill and finally hit this amazing milestone, they often walk right into a massive pitfall. Someone grinds for 19 months, they hit that $20,000 mark, they feel that huge psychological relief and confidence boost, and then they immediately blow it on something trivial. They tell themselves they deserve a reward for all their hard work and discipline, so they buy an expensive vacation or drop it as a down payment on a house they can't actually afford. Listen, do not do this. $20,000 is not a reward for good behavior. It's the foundational seed for your generational wealth. If you spend it now, you're completely resetting the clock on all your financial momentum.
So a really crucial point here is highlighted by how we view our vehicles. As the old saying goes, your car payment is keeping you poor. Between payments, insurance, and gas, most people are dropping $600 to $800 every single month on a rapidly depreciating asset. Over a 40-year period, that is easily $400,000 just evaporating, so you can get from point A to point B. And then those same people wonder why they can't afford to save for retirement.
Once you have your financial foundation built, you start viewing everything through the lens of opportunity cost. The moment you drive a brand new $30,000 car off the lot, it loses about 20% of its value. You're actively destroying wealth. But what if you took that same $30,000 and invested it? Over 20 years, that money grows to over $200,000. So driving an older, reliable Honda isn't a sacrifice. It's a highly strategic choice to fund your future freedom. The person in the flashy new car is probably incredibly stressed about money, while the person in the older Honda is quietly building wealth and sleeping incredibly well at night. Ultimately, hitting this tipping point is all about becoming fiercely intentional with your money. It's not about being a penny-pinching miser who never enjoys life. It's about separating the things you kind of want from the things you actually really want. Sure, a bigger apartment with an extra bedroom sounds great, but is it really worth delaying your financial independence by 5 full years? Once you understand the mechanics of wealth, you stop letting your money just slip away on things that don't actually bring you lasting value.
Hitting $20,000 is the precise moment you stop reacting and you start building. So I'll leave you with this question. Will you merely survive your financial life, or will you design it? The decisions you make right now are exactly what your future self is counting on. Take control of that boulder, push it over the hill, and let the momentum start working for you. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and be sure to stick around for our future topics as we continue to break down the mechanics of the world around us.